You're listening to Productivity Monsters in the Morning. We are the energy volt your real estate business needs to get you up and out and excited and productive for the day. We go over trending topics and things that really matter in the market of the moment. Here are your hosts, Tiffany Hampton and Brooke Silva.
Good morning.
Good morning from the Jeep office.
Yes, I know. I'm glad I don't travel as much anymore. Like, I'm in the middle of nowhere land, and literally it takes me to get from my house to the New Hampshire border is an hour. So,
I know. I drove up to Portland. It was not a Portland highways are not my favorite thing.
yeah, well, it's a 45-minute drive to my house to Portland. It's so much fun.
And then you guys have all kinds of construction going on right now. Exit 4 is closed.
Well, yeah. Our whatever they call it, the public safety, they did this whole thing about the orange cones being an endangered species as one of our commercials. We have some really creative.
Yeah, cool. So you know what? That is the most perfect way to lead in what we're going to talk about today is what makes you stand out and get remembered, right? Do you have or do you understand your value in what you do? And what is something that makes you memorable in a good way? In a good way.
Yeah. And I will just say now, whenever you look at an orange cone, you're going to think endangered species.
That is probably one of the funniest things I've ever heard. As someone who comes from that world, like, you know, marketing and PR was my first love with graphics and all things marketing, stuff like that. Like my parents would say when Brooke was growing up, she never watched TV. She watched the commercials. Mm-hmm. I was never one for the show. Like that's when I would play color. But then as soon as the commercials came on, I was zoned in on it. And so my parents always knew I was going to be PR based, marketing, you know, graphics, anything that had to do with pushing out a message. They knew that's what I was going to be wrapped up in. So I've always enjoyed that. That is hysterical. So let's talk about value proposition. Can you define it per what we say it is in real estate, and then we'll dig in?
Well, there's value proposition, and then there's your unique selling, right? There's all kinds of different ways to describe it. Essentially, in this big world, how do you set yourself apart from others? And when people think of real estate, why do they think of you?
You know, and it's funny, a lot of our realtor friends think that means just hammering. Oh my God, I know. And I know I say it often and it's such a crude way of putting, but people, they're just barfing real estate 24/7. You know, and I think we've had this conversation where I asked my mom why she wasn't interacting with things. And at one point she's like, well, they don't mean anything to me right now. And that was a gut punch because my mom is my biggest cheerleader on this planet.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, I got to get back to being a human. I was so focused on the doing of our business that I forgot that I'm a human and there's a human on the other end.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of places that don't educate that way, especially sales worlds, right?
Oh.
Close.
And here's the thing, like I was on a coaching call yesterday and one of the coaches said that May and August are like when the world kind of goes crazy, right? And think about it. May is
we
when
have 2 super moons.
Well, and let's not go there. It's really because in May, people are preparing for kids to get out of school. You have your graduates, you have your empty nesters, you have that whole mindset shift, right? And then you have August where you enjoyed summer, your kids were home, and now you're going into school and you're sending your kids off to college and it's all this new, right? So when you're thinking about unique value propositions, one of the things that pops into my mind immediately is how are you the person during all of those times, right? So what would you deliver in May? What would you deliver in August? And then to your point, is everybody tagged? So, you know, the 80-year-old that hasn't had kids in their house for 30, 40, 50 years isn't getting a back to school information.
Or do they want to get it because they do have grandchildren? Right. But you won't know unless you have those conversations. My value proposition is not that I send a bunch of emails or post a bunch of things about technology.
Yep.
Right. That is not my value proposition at all, or my unique thing about me. Right. That is not unique about me at all. People are receptive to that information because they know I genuinely care about their business and well-being. Right.
You have to show up.
Years. Yeah.
You have to show up first. You have to earn the right.
Exactly. You know, this is a long business for our realtors, and this is a long business for us in our roles as well. Mm-hmm. I get pure pleasure and happiness every single day because of the amount of text messages or calls I get from the people in our region. This morning alone, I had 8 conversations with people in our region that had everything and nothing to do with about our world. It's getting ready for mega camp. I put up a silly post the other day about making sure Uber or your Lyft is up to date or installed, and that your payment methods, the amount of messages I got, even though people weren't necessarily interacting with the posts, was hysterical. Because people are like, I'm always in the airport and then I can't log into Uber. And, you know, and it's like, well, yeah, I know, I've been there. That's why the post goes out.
Yeah, right.
It's
I know, I saw that post.
Is it needed?
Yeah, and I saw that post and I was like, you made me triggered to go make sure my apps are up to date, because they're not.
Nope.
Because I shut them down. I only literally I only use Uber when I go to events. And in between I shut them down because I don't want to get anything. Like, there's just so many people out there that want information. So I just shut it down.
So many people are like you too, or they use it on the browser and they struggle because of Wi-Fi and other things or location. So is it valuable and is it needed to the person on the other end of your messaging? And that's what will set you apart as someone in this world to be remembered, because that is what shows you truly care and what makes you unique and stay in the mind of the person. Do we have to do the other things? Absolutely. We still have to talk business, but you have said it, and this is stuck since you have said it to me, and I have used this. Thank you. And I know you stole it from somewhere, but it's okay. The relationship piggy bank, you've got to make deposits before you make a withdrawal, or then you're in the negative. And that's not a good place to be, because that's when you lose trust in people. You're just there to sell something. You just want me to do this. You're just pushing a product, a service, a way of life.
I think the person I heard that from was Diana Kokoska, who used to run maps way back in the day when I first joined KW. And it's true. Like, I will tell you, and you know me, right?
Yeah.
You deposit, you withdraw, right? If you withdraw from me before you deposit, or if you take too many withdrawals, like, and we talk about you're dead to me.
I know. You're dead to me. I know. I need to put that on a sticker for you and trademark it for you. And
we joke around, like, back when I was younger and I wasn't as like, I've grown a lot. Back in the day, I did have a list. I had my black list and my green list. And there was a black. I don't have that anymore because I've learned to like just let it go. But there are people that I think into my head, you know, you can't control your first thought, but you control every thought after. The dead to me thought does come out a few times, and I'm like, they're not really dead to me. Stop saying that.
We're humans. You know, we have somebody in our region who's a top rainmaker, top agent, ALC, who is remaking herself again. And it's funny because she has that same personality like you, where she's like, they're dead to me, but I'm trying to get over them being dead to me. And she's like, I have to remember that I'm a human, they're a human. We're in a different business than we were 5 years ago. We're in a different business than we were 3 months ago. She's like, I'm just trying to make my business and lives better. That's it. She's like, and I need to get back to that instead of being caught up in the minutia of, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. She's like, and my business failed when I went away from who I was. And I need to get back to that because people want the true me. They don't want the silly, trying different things that don't fit my personality or behavioral styles person.
Yeah, well, and it goes back to what we talked about on Tuesday. Really easy to live in judger, right?
Mhm.
Really easy. And I've learned anybody that I want to judge just shouldn't be part of my life, and that solves that problem.
You're not going to the pit, you're pushing them into the judgment pit, is what I've
No,
learned. And then you're putting a rock in a piece of plywood.
I choose not to be a judger, which means some people just can't be in my life.
You know, it's funny, we are all judgmental, whether we realize it or not. We all
Oh, I know,
do
it's
things.
bad.
We are all, I've never met a human being that doesn't judge another situation, emotion, anything. We are constantly judging, whether you want to admit it or not. It's how you handle it after the first thought that changes the dynamic of our human relationships. So at the end of the day, you got to shake those limiting beliefs. You got to stick true to who you are. And
Right.
you've got to get really good at who you are and communicating who you are, because at the end of the day, that's what your friends, family, sphere, and clients came to you for.
Yep.
And that's what they're going to continue to do it for.
And your value proposition allows you to choose the people that you desire in your life.
Right. Right. We've talked about tribes too. People come and go in your life for reasons. Friendship groups change, professional friend groups change. Who you network with, who you're in business with, that is never the same. And if it is, you're stale. You need to add new people to your world all the time, right? It's funny, the MREA, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, while it is such a blueprint for any business, it's such a true thing in life. If you think about how we're supposed to add people to our world, right? We're always trying to add people and get them into emotional proximity so that they do something. It's the same thing in our personal life, right? So get out there.
Made me think really quickly before we close out. We're getting a new MREA book at Mega Camp.
We are getting a new MREA playbook. We are a companion. KW has worked tirelessly. They are working so many hours. Our friends are exhausted. They are pouring their heart and soul into this playbook. If you're not clear, this is going to give you the clarity you need with all the other tools, systems, and models we have.
Yeah. So have your value proposition, build great relationships, and add value to everyone in your world, and your business will take off.
Just remember this, every time you're trying to make a decision on what to push out to a client, is it valuable? That's a hard word to say. And is it needed for them, not you? And if you don't know, you don't have the right to push it to them without a conversation first.
Just because you have 10,000 people in your database does not mean you click the button and send a newsletter to 10,000 people. That is lazy.
Disgusting. It's rude.
It's lazy.
It's rude. You wouldn't come up to me and tape a freaking piece of paper to my forehead, would you?
All right, before it gets obnoxious, I'm going to let you go.
Hey, friends, we may or may not be on next week while we're at Mega, but we'll try to give you some glimpses into what is going on while we're there and try to share with you anything we're seeing. So watch our pages, our Facebook pages, and watch our internal groups if you're a KW person that you're a part of. And we can't wait to share Mega Camp with you.
All right, have a good one.
Bye.